Let's talk about high housing prices. This is a topic that many Singaporeans are very concerned about. We understand that there's been measures put in place as well as the government's effort to ramp up the supply of flats. Increasingly, we still see higher housing prices in the resale market. I mean, just this week alone, we've seen million-dollar transactions. So do these measures actually work?
The property market is a result of two forces. One would be the supply-demand. When supply-demand is affected, equilibrium is affected in any way, then it will reflect itself in the prices that people transact at, right? That's especially on the open market. And then there's also the element of psychology and market sentiment, which is people's expectation of what they should be able to sell their flat for, and buyers' concerns about whether they'll be able to lock in at this price if they don't make the decision today. So it's very technical, but I think when people transact, they instinctively know that this is the reason. One of the important sources of affordable housing, especially for first-timers, including young couples, would be BTO supply. The prices are set by HDB, and therefore they're not as impacted by market movements. And you can see that in terms of the prices that have been rolled out in our BTO launches, even before means-tested subsidies. So BTO affordability is something that we can assure, including those in prime and plus areas, because they come with more subsidies, they come with tighter conditions, to be fair. Right? But then the point that you're raising would be on the resale side of the house. In resale market, willing buyer, willing seller, but the two operative forces impact the kind of prices we've seen. So on the supply-demand side, we have injected, as you say, significant supply of HDB. In a 7-year period, 130,000 flats launched between 2021 to 2027. By 2025, we would have exceeded our 100,000 target already. So very significant supply coming on stream to meet the needs, especially of first-timers. This year, our first-timer BTO application rate has come down to below pre-COVID levels. And that is why from July BTO launch this year, we will be restoring the second-timer access for 3-room and larger BTO flats by another 5%. And some of the concerns come also from second-timers who had to make way over the last few years for first-timers whose numbers had increased. And now we've met some of that demand, stabilized it. Now we want to address second-timers access. Otherwise, they would have to go to the resale market, right? The million-dollar flats also contribute to some of the psychology, the other aspect of it. And every time people see those headlines, they cause all sellers, not just sellers of flats in better locations, newer units, higher floor, better amenities, better transport connectivity. And those tend to be the small proportion of million-dollar transactions, but they cause an overall expectation of sellers to rise and buyers to fear that if I don't lock in, tomorrow it'll go up. So I'm saying that it's both psychology as well as supply-demand. One of the reasons why this year you see the resale market in the HDB side lighting up again is because of the MOP flats. After 5-year MOP, beyond the 5-year mark, some people may decide to move, to live nearer to parents, to get a bigger flat. And so if you have to recognize that this year is lower than usual because of the impact of COVID. So 5 years ago, HDB ought to have completed 20,000 flats. But COVID struck, and there were construction closures, stoppages, significant impact. And so instead of completing 20,000, HDB completed less than half of that. And so you translate that to this year, MOP flats about 8,000, and of that smaller number, an even smaller number, then possibly enter into the resale market. So there's tightness this year compared to previous years. From next year onwards, that number will shoot up to 13,500 from 8,000 this year. 8,000 this year, next year 13,500, they increase again, and 2028, some 19,500 will be MOPing flats. So you see that supply-demand, not just in terms of the 130,000 that will eventually come on stream, but in the more immediate term, even the MOP flat supply will also increase. Then on the demand side, of course, we have increased the enhanced housing grant to help first-timer families with BTO and resale. We also increased the CPF housing grant for resale flats some time back to a group that we are giving support to. And of course, 4 rounds of cooling measures, the most recent being late last year. And all of these, strong supply, coupled with the cooling measures that we've put in place to crimp some of the demand, these will work their way through the market. But of course, the psychological factors also have to follow suit, because these may come on stream, but people are still operating on the basis of what they see in terms of headlines, may take a while for people's sentiment to match the reality of supply demand.